Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to my train room. For this week's video I'm going to assemble some of the freight cars that I found at the Roseville swap meet, and I'm going to make a suitable load for one of them. So let me turn the camera around and I will get to work. Among the freight cars that I picked up at the Roseville swap meet were these three Proto 2000 series 52'6" drop-in mill gondolas. And since I have a whole load of ideas for gondola loads that I want to try, I thought this would be a good time to assemble them. I put one together yesterday. It wasn't too easy to assemble, mainly because the grab irons had to be attached individually and the holes were not big enough, so I had to open them out. I didn't glue the floor in. I'm going to go away and paint all three of the floors in one go, and then I'm going to come back and assemble the other two cars. Well, I did notice that one of the boxes was a slightly different colour. It didn't occur to me that it meant that the kits were different. So here's the floor I just pulled out of this gondola, and surprise, surprise, the other two floors are already an acceptable colour. I don't think I'm going to have to do anything at all to those. Well, I had another change of plan. It turns out that the other two kits were from a later batch and they were completely different. Also, the typeface on these is too modern for my period. So what I think I will do is paint over those letters and then eventually decal them for my own road. This one I will leave as a New York Central car. Anyway, putting the floor back in, I managed to crush two of the corner stirrups. Fortunately there were some spares in the kit, but the two that I broke were both the same hand and they're slightly different. So if you look closely you'll see that this one is backwards, but I don't think people will really notice that unless I tell them, so I'm not too worried. Here's a photograph I found on the internet a few days ago. It is a 52-foot gondola loaded with pipes of assorted lengths, and I decided I'm going to more or less duplicate this load. I haven't been able to do it exactly because if we see on the picture there are 4 pipes across each layer and the vertical timbers on either side, and I did not have any pipe the right diameter. I would have needed something with a 7mm outside diameter, and I didn't have anything. I had 6s and 8s. I've cut up a whole load of this, which is a little over 5mm diameter, and I'm going 5 pipes per tier. I've cut up most of my supply of this diameter of tubing. The walls are rather thick, so I'm thinning them down by twirling my knife blade in the end. You'll notice from my supply of pipes here that some of them are not full length. That's because I couldn't quite get 2 pipes out of a length, so I've got one and a large offcut. So for each layer that I'm gluing up, I'm going to put full pipes on the outsides and splice the ones in the middle. I'm making layers now as sub-assemblies, and then I will assemble the whole load later after I've painted these. And just make sure it's nice and flat, all in the same plane. Right. I need 3 more layers. The top layer I think I'm going to leave as 5 individual pipes for now and combine them after I paint them, because I want it to look like individual pipes. I don't want the paint to fill in where they join. Welcome back. I got all the pipes painted. First time I did it, it ended up with a really matte finish, which normally is what I'm aiming for, but here the pipes have a bit of a sheen to them, so I sprayed everything with this Testors lacquer. It's not as glossy as the pipes, but it looks like almost an eggshell finish. I guess that'll do. And I painted them a really dark grey. I mixed my dark pavement grey with black, about 50-50. Although at first glance it looks as though these pipes are a much lighter grey, I think that is just the photograph being overexposed on the sunlight, because if we look further down where they're in shadow, they look nearly black. So I'm just going to go with this colour. The next thing I need to do is start working on the cradle to keep them in. This load shows steel banding around the pipes, but that is more of a diesel error hacking method. I want mine to be backdated a little bit to the steam error, and I'm thinking a heavier wooden cradle would be the norm rather than the metal banding. So instead of having stickers just between the second and third row, I'm going to put stickers between each row and attach them to the verticals. Okay, this is not the same freight car that I showed earlier. I have a fair number of these Athens 50-foot gondolas, but they're a little bit narrower than the 52-footer that I was assembling at the start of the video. And I would like the load to be interchangeable with some of these gondolas as well. So that's why I'm working on this. I deliberately made the load too long for a 40-footer. I found these 4x4s and they just go in. So I can use this strip wood to make my cradle. Well, I've chopped 24 of the cross pieces and 8 longer ones for the side stakes. I'm going to assemble them on this old envelope where I have drawn 4 parallel lines the right distance apart, and I'm going to start assembling from the second row, because I think trying to position it accurately on the bottom stickers is going to be more difficult. I would like the runny kind. This is the gel, but it's all I had available. Well, I think the hard part is done now, assembling the first couple of layers. Some of the side stakes are not vertical, but then if we look on the picture, this one here is bent at least a 20-degree angle, so I'm not too worried. I'm figuring it's travelled some distance already and it's taken a few knocks. There are 20 contact points here. I'm not going to worry about the 8 on the side stakes, because I think those will have a good chance of messing me up if I try to get the glue in there. So I'm just going to accept the fact that the side stakes are only going to be glued to the wood instead of to the pipes. You'll have to excuse the background noise. I've got kids in the basement with me. And since it's Christmas Day, they're all happy, they have toys. I'm certainly not going to ask them to be quiet. Not today. Now for the last of the full layers. The top layer will be done a little bit differently, because as I mentioned at the start of the video, I elected to keep the top layer pipe separate. I didn't want to risk the paint filling in the V's between the pipes. As I mentioned earlier, the top layer is slightly wider because I painted the pipes separately. So what I've done is hit the side stakes with a half round file. It's barely noticeable. What I'm going to do here is copy the top row on this load. I'm putting it this way round because this side stake is not vertical, and it starts off with the longest pipe on this side and the shortest one next to it, and then the others are about the same length. It's not an exact copy, of course, because I've got 5 pipes wide instead of 4. I'm not going to put glue between the pipes on the top layer because I think that would defeat the object of painting them separately, because the glue might show. I've got to make sure they're hard up against each other though. I am, however, going to glue the side pipes to the stakes, because until now the stakes haven't got much positive attachment. There's all the pipes in position. Now I just need the top stringers, which will be there to tie the tops of the side stakes together and to stop pipes jumping out. And there is my pipe load. As I said, it's not quite an exact match, but it's close, and it's certainly representative of that load.